Welcome back. Huge news. The State of Sanderson has just released for 2023.
It's finally here.
Finally here. We have waited all year for this. And fun fact, this is actually Jaden's first time reading through a State of Sanderson.
It is. I've gotten so much deeper into the Cosmere this year than I think I ever have, which I've loved.
It's great. And starting with this. And so we want to go through, talk about some of the most amazing moments in this Sanderson, State of Sanderson, and huge news that he's released. Little bombs and hints that he's dropped.
He likes to sneak those little massive announcements into
some of those things he said in there. I was like, I don't think we knew this, and he just kind of said it like everybody knew it. So it's
awesome.
I loved it. But he started with the Kickstarter, and he kind of gives a review on his year first, and he talks about how the Kickstarter went.
Well, you know what's been his biggest year of all time. 2023 was massive. He called it the year of Sanderson as he launched his Kickstarter and delivered it and did all the things that we were not expecting at all in 2022. So he launched that in 2023. It's been all about delivering and making that happen. We've seen the secret projects. We've loved them. The ones that we've read so far, we'll continue to do that. But the Kickstarter itself, he reflects on how difficult it's been to actually get it delivered.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a massive effort. It all started with a record-breaking Kickstarter campaign. In fact, it doubled the previous record holder, which I did look up to see what it was, and it was actually a fitness watch. So it was a device that he beat.
Completely different industry.
Different industry, a technology industry, which is generally seen as an industry that cannot be beaten by something by literature.
Well, a lot of money has been in tech recently, so I can understand why people would expect a technology element to be so much more impactful, so much more of a punchy marketing Kickstarter than a fantasy book.
And they raised, I think, $23 million or 21.
I think it was 21.
It's 21?
Yeah.
And then Sanderson almost exactly doubled it. $42 million raised.
Absolutely insane. And I'm sure their whole team was freaking out to try and be okay, we were planning on delivering a few books. Now we need to build a whole publishing company to make sure that all this gets delivered on time. But he did it.
Insane.
He delivered all the boxes. I think he said that their entire team, might have been in a review video that he made, but their whole team signed the last box.
I know, I love that. And now they said that someone will get a box that says, "This is the last box." I thought that was
I wonder
so cool.
if you have that box or you've received that box. I want to see a picture of what that looks like. Maybe we'll find it on Reddit somewhere.
That would be the coolest thing ever. Got to keep that box. The box is a keeper.
So one thing he mentioned in the Kickstarter section of his State of Sanderson that I want to talk about is when he wrote The Wheel of Time, a well-known author came up to him. And they said, now make sure you go back to them immediately and pitch another follow-up series for The Wheel of Time. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So that your future is secure and you can write those books for the next 20 years. And he's like, I said, no, that's ridiculous. I love how he is sticking to what he loves and the way that he is, and he has not changed that because now he's a millionaire, you know?
You know, my favorite part about reading this part of the State of Sanderson, of that guy's recommendation, does that not feel like every single Hollywood producer's recommendation?
Absolutely.
Oh, you know what you should do? You should make an Avengers 2 and 3 and Infinity and
we can
forever.
Make 15 of those. Until we start losing money, you'll just keep seeing them every year. And that's why we're on the iPhone 16 now?
I know. We're literally going to run these ideas dry until they literally die is their idea.
That's painful, but that's the way the industry has worked. It's all about the profits you can make.
But it's that, and that's also how you kill stories and kill legacies. Because all of these stories that are actually pretty good, that stand on their own, that they're few that they've got, they almost ruin give you a bad taste of it by the end of it. I'm just so glad he didn't go that direction and he started making his own stuff. And
he stuck to it. And I want to talk about that in the conclusion too, because he mentions why he does that and his business mind about it. But I think he does such a good job of deciding, you know what, it's not about more. It's not about more money. It's not about just writing more books for the sake of it. It's these are stories that I want to tell and I will tell in my own time. And there are even some where he's like, I'm not writing until 2028. It is what it is. But it's not maybe more of a delay and I'm just going to take a break. But he's like, I'm going to write this other stuff, you know?
Yeah.
There are a couple of books that we'll talk about in a second, like Horn Eater, that he's like, I want to write it, but I'll write it later. I'll write it when I want to come back to Roshar sometime. So
oh, yeah, for sure.
You get to sprinkle that in a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, I really love how he has a really good handle on his whole world and where he wants to go with everything, and I'm grateful that he does that. This is one of the reasons why I think he will be the next Stan Lee of our generation. Is like he has a vision
It's
in his
a bold
mind.
prediction.
It is a bold prediction, which I know will be right. Like
I love that.
Like he's just very into his characters and has so many different worlds, and he's already starting the merchandise for all of it.
Okay,
and
so he talks about a lot of that in the next section. He talks about what he did other than Kickstarter.
Yeah,
and can I just say, what a work ethic! My goodness, it's amazing because you typically think of an author like they write when the motivation hits them, but the part that I love about it, he goes through his rundown. You mentioned this is the first time I've read Stay to Sanderson. You know, there you go.
Yeah.
But he talks about he's got his rundown based on his spreadsheet of work. I'm like, that's so awesome. He's not like, oh, I make tons of money with these books. I'll write whenever I feel like it. He's like, I have to hit these many words every day. I'm reporting on my progress. That is fantastic. That's like such a good way of thinking about it. And it just means that he can really detail out. I know I write these many words a day. I can consistently do this, which means I can write this many books a year. I can plan out the next 5-10 years, which he has done. And it's so cool. I love that.
I think it's amazing. I love studying people who have been successful. And Sanderson is one of those people that I love hearing what he has to say because he is super driven, super goal oriented on all of these things. He's a big video game fan. And he always tells himself in his podcast, he's like, listen, there's this new game coming out. But I tell myself, like, I am not allowed to touch it until I have, like, finished my amount of words or even until the, like, holidays because I do not want that getting in the way of anything of what I'm doing.
And he doesn't have to do that. That's the crazy. It's like, that's just his discipline. He's just in it to
He's already made it
successful.
Like,
he has, absolutely. He could ride off into the sunset.
He's doing this for us. Like, it's
for
awesome.
You and me.
For me and you, specifically.
And me. I think, okay, so he talks about his work ethic. He talks about what he's planning on writing. I want to get into his detailed schedule for the next few years, but that's later on down, and there's so much to talk about before that.
I know. There's a lot of thoughts I have on his detailed schedule.
So he talks about, though, Stormlight, which is on that schedule, but it's like a big element of what he wants to say he's been working on. Because he's been working on it for 11 months of this year?
Yeah.
He renamed it just recently. So if you haven't heard already, it was previously going to be known as Knights of Wind and Truth. Kind of a long name, a little bit of a letdown, but he has shortened it to Wind and Truth. Yep. So much better. Fits with the likes of Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, all the other Stormlight series. So much better. I can't believe it took him this long to rename it.
I know. It's great. Honestly, I think one of the reasons why he originally had it named like that is he was trying to make it... There's a name for it when you spell everything forwards and then backwards. It was supposed to be the...
like a palindrome.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be the initials of every single one of those books could be like forward and backwards. And so Knights of Wind and Truth was The Way of Kings. Like, isn't that cool? Is that
Knights
really cool?
Wind and Truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. So I don't know if it this is like TV brain, but if we once you get on a screen, like trying to do the math in your head, I'm pretty sure it works out like pretty perfectly with that. And that's why
it would, because Way of Kings... Words of Radiance, Rhythm of War.
Yes.
They reverse each other.
Yep. And then Oathbringer is the middle with the O.
Wow.
Pretty incredible.
Oathbringer is just one word. I always refer to it as OB. That's
I know.
Brilliant.
It's really cool. And I think he initially said that he kind of felt drawn into like he had to do a title like that for his last book and was felt a little locked down. He's like, I'm still trying to decide if I actually want to do that or not. Sounds like he decided to go halfway.
He could totally just consider it the pros refer to it as Knights of Wind and Truth because of the palindrome element of the title. That could be just like the secret Sanderson fan version.
Yep.
As far as Reddit is concerned, that can be what it's called.
Seriously. Or we'll just shorten the first book to The Way instead of so it can be Wind and Truth and The Way. I don't know.
No, just kidding. Way of Kings is exactly what it should be.
This is The Way.
But I will say the first couple of books the titles are other books inside the book.
I know. I've been looking for that every single time. So I guess he changed the title of a book within a book for this next book. So
Oathbringer's not the same way, is it?
Oh, that's his sword, isn't it?
Oathbringer's the sword. But the first, Way of Kings is a book inside of a book. Words of Radiance is a book inside of a book. It's just cool. I like the little tidbits.
And Rhythm of War is not a book.
It's not a book.
It might be. It could be her notes.
Maybe she writes the book. Oh, actually, is it?
It could be. I don't know.
See, we're doing a whole reaction series to the entire Stormlight Archive. It's taking us a little while. We're halfway through Oathbringer at this point. But
nope. We're halfway through.
We haven't posted the videos.
It will come.
It will come.
Words of Radiance, not Oathbringer.
What did I say?
You said Oathbringer.
I lied to you.
We're halfway through Words of Radiance.
Halfway through Words of Radiance, but we're getting through that process. filming the reaction videos, and if you want to follow along, please feel free, subscribe, check those out. But for now, we're diving back into the State of Sanderson.
Yes, but I was really excited to see Wind and Truth, and I'm sure all of our commenters will be very excited to see that we're now calling it Winds and Truth, because everyone made sure to let us know in the comments that it is Wind and Truth,
which I love.
Not Knights of Wind and Truth.
I appreciate that you're telling us the truth and leading us in
the right
direction.
We're big fans. Just so you know, that last video was recorded before that announcement, but...
Yeah, sorry.
Now we know. I think it's great. It makes the name a lot more concise and a lot more readable.
I like it better.
Big fan. But it does talk about the Horn-Eater book that you briefly brought up about Rock. So Sanderson has talked about in the past that he wants to have a 0.5 book in between every single Way of Kings.
I love that.
Yeah. And so
Lion
Horn-Eater...
King 1.5 was a fantastic movie.
Fantastic. Yeah, see?
That's just how it goes.
There you go. You love halves. Got to have them. So the first book was the half book. Actually, was there not even a half book for the first one?
For the first what? Stormlight?
Yeah.
Not that I know
I
of.
didn't even catch it.
But... Where would Horn-Eater even go? Maybe that's where it's going to go.
No, it's not. Because,
has he said?
No, it's going to go in between book 4 and 5.
Oh.
Yeah, because so the Lift book, the
Edge Dancer
mm-hmm. will be between books 2 and 3.
Yes.
And then the one between 3 and 4 is... is
that the Dawn Shard?
Dawn Shard? Yep. And then the fifth one, or the 4 and 5 one, 4.5, will be Horn-Eater.
So there won't be one between Way of Kings. But honestly, we've talked about this before in our review of the series. The transition from Way of Kings to Words of Radiance is pretty tight. So maybe that's why he just let them funnel right into each other. They don't need to have.
Honestly, that's a really good point. Yeah. So, but I'm excited for that one. I'm really excited about that one. Actually, in our reread of Words of Radiance, we've already been getting like Rock is a part of it and everything, and I want to know what it's actually like where the air is not so thick. so everyone's not air sick over there. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what it's like over there and see what things he actually says are true about being air sick and what are not.
It will be very interesting to see what their society is like, because I love that concept of like the first, second, third, fourth, fifth sun thing.
Yep.
Where like you can only go to war with like a fourth and lower sun. Like so cool. Interesting, like their society is built around that type of family structure. Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
But I do want to... There's so many books that he's writing. So many books. And he's like, yeah, I'll pick that up at some point.
Oh, yeah. And not to mention that, spoiler alert for just like 30 seconds, Rock leaves the group in book 4. Mm-hmm. And so Sanderson's pretty much told us we will not see Rock again unless we see him in this book, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so we want more Rock. And so this is how we're going to get it.
And I love that he opens that up. He's like, you feel like some things are so like, oh man, you kind of like lose that part of you. When you finish reading a series and you're like, all those characters are basically like dead to me now because the series is over, you still get this opportunity. And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool that he's doing that.
Love it.
And speaking of new books that he's writing, he's diving us back into Mistborn because Era 2 is done.
Okay. This is massive news.
Yeah.
He gave us a title for the next series of Mistborn books.
Yep.
He's going to be calling the third era of Mistborn the Ghostbloods. This, I was freaking out when I read this. I'm like, oh my goodness, we are going to get some answers on why in the world Kelsier's crew is just like crazy. Like
it's gonna be wild.
They're brutal.
I'm glad the whole series is about that though. The whole series is going to be about the Ghostbloods. And I think that's such a great way to do it.
Yeah.
It could have been just a single book, you know?
And it makes me think that these Ghostblood books will have to have had taken place before the Way of Kings series.
Oh. Yeah, because they're very involved.
Yeah.
Or at least in tandem in a sense where it's like leading you through what they're up to. I don't know.
It could. It really could.
He could do anything he wants.
No. But honestly, the worst part about this, and we're kind of jumping to the end, is when these Ghostblood books are going to be releasing. I could not get over this.
Are we jumping straight to there?
I gotta jump there.
Go
man.
to the end.
I was so disappointed when I read this. I was like, I was so stoked and excited. But listen, we've got Wind and Truth coming out in December of 2024. Okay? Then we have some various like Cosmere novels that are not that important.
They're not even all written by him.
That are not even all written by him. Well, no, these are all written by him. You're talking about Skyward novels and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there are a few. Dan and Isaac are writing some Cosmere novels.
Yes, that is true. They will throw some things in there as well. But before we actually get back to any serious Cosmere novels, I'm talking like main stuff. Yeah, none of the joke stuff. No, but like I'm not talking like a half book like Horn-Eater or like White Sand. He's already created, but he's turning it into a novel.
Next step in the plot, basically.
We have to wait until 2028. That is 4 years from December. We are going to be old. That is 5 years from now.
It's December right now, so yeah, it's 5 years from now.
5 years. This is insane.
Wow.
I cannot believe how long that's going to take.
I'll have my walker here on the podcast as we come in to talk about Ghost Bloods. And then Ghost Bloods 3, 7 years from now.
I know. It was fascinating, though. He said he's going to write all 3 books at the same time before he releases any of them. So he's going to write book 1, book 2, and book 3, and then release them subsequently.
I wonder how that affects the plot. Do you think it'll just make it that much better because it'll be so locked in?
So he said that this is how he wrote the original Mistborn series as well.
That makes sense.
And he loved
doing it that way.
He
can add things from the third book into the first book and mix stuff around. I love that.
But with that
it's gonna take a long time, though.
I know. With that big hiatus of massive Mistborn books and lore and the world, we are going to be doubling up. So 2028, December, Ghost Bloods 1 comes out. Mm-hmm. Then 6 months later, Elantris 2. Then Ghost Bloods 2 6 months after that. 6 months later, Elantris 3. 6 months later, Ghost Bloods 3.
So you're saying I only have, what is it, 6 years to read Elantris 1?
Yeah, that's right. You got to read that. It becomes more important, and he'll be a better writer by then, too, which is great.
Which is cool to see. Like, he's continuing to evolve as he's moving through, but that's so long.
I know. But what I guess I'm trying to say is, like, although we have to wait so long to get those books, at least he's releasing 2 major books a year when it comes to that point.
Yep.
But I'm just so disappointed in that. He also says to be determined on a different book for 2028, the same time as Ghost Bloods 1.
Well, let me talk you through another section then, because he says various Cosmere books that I want to write someday. And I wonder if one of those goes in that slot.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
They are The Night Brigade. I want to read that one.
Okay, how cool is that? I'm so glad we finished reading Sunlit Man before reading this.
That was perfect timing. Because I'm like, I need to know. I really want to know what's going on with this.
I know.
Night Brigade, Dragonsteel as a book.
Yes. So Dragonsteel, I'm pretty sure this is one he's actually pretty set on writing.
A lot of these he wants to write, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it says on these he may write or might write sometime. Yeah. But Dragonsteel, though, this one that's the story about Wit and how he began.
That's what I want to read.
I want to read that so bad. Oh. But we've got years before anything like that happens. Like
that means the channel will have to survive. So
I know.
Join the journey. I think the Silence Divine is another one. I'm assuming that's related to Silence.
Oh, is that one of them?
Yeah, the Silence Divine.
No way, dude. I didn't even see that one.
And then the Grand Apparatus. Don't know what that means.
Don't know what that means either.
Mythos.
Don't know what that means.
No idea. The Ether World book series.
The Ether World.
Ether, spelled with an A. Who does that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is has something to do with like books that you have not read yet.
I'm gonna call it Aether.
Could be that too.
Are you sure it's Ether?
It could be Aether. I think you're right.
Aether.
Yeah, just kidding.
We'll go with that.
No,
that's a whole series.
They talk a bit about that in Tress of the Emerald Sea and in Mistborn Era.
I need to catch up.
Mistborn Era 2.
I'm so far behind.
I know, you got to
The problem is once I read all these books and I'm caught up, now I'm waiting years to read the next book.
I know, that's why we're going to go...
If I space it out...
Go super slow.
That's the only way. So, okay. He transitions straight away from that into movies and talks about movies. How did I not know that they're already in development on the Mistborn?
Okay, this was massive news that he just kind of dropped right there.
That seems like big news to me.
It was huge.
Last I heard it was rumors.
I feel like he wrote that in there and just kind of like laughed as he wrote it. Because
anyway, it's in development. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Move on.
Well, it's because the last thing we heard was, yes, I'm trying to work on a movie with some partners. I've been into discussions. I think Mistborn would make the best thing to start with. But he never said it actually was Mistborn or anything else. And he says now, like the exact quote, the Mistborn film has been in development, but has run into some hiccups and is on pause for now. But I'll have some more news to share in 2024.
So we're just waiting for news. We're just sitting here waiting for a morsel of information.
This is amazing.
On how the movie's going.
I know.
But he also says film. He doesn't say series.
Yes.
And I know there was rumors that it was either going to be a film or a TV series.
Yes. And I think his big idea is that he would like to do a film series with Mistborn.
So there'd be a multi-part movie.
What
do you mean by film series?
Well, like one for the first book, one for the second book.
Okay, so each book would be its own film.
I don't know if they'll break into parts. I kind of hope not. I kind of hate that trend.
So it wouldn't be parts per se. It would be books. So they'd be their own movie.
Yep.
Yeah, so you'd be like, Well of Ascension would be its own movie.
Yes. And then Way of Kings would be a TV series.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look at these books. Massive.
So I was talking to my wife about the TV series, and we were like, oh, what's he going to do? You know, how interesting would that be? Some TV series have definitely flopped this year that we have not liked. Again, we don't really review TV series on here yet, but...
we will get there.
We will get there. There's some interesting takes that we have on that. But she's like, oh, it'll probably be like, you know, like Rings of Power style, like an 8-episode series. And I'm like, I tell you what, though, I
hope it's not
he's
Rings
really
of Power.
big on the number 16.
Oh.
Huge fan. Why not have 16 episodes? That's a lot. I'll tell you that's a lot. But it'd be cool.
I would appreciate that.
I would watch all of them.
Not a fan of these shows doing only 8 episodes at a time. I want more. Unless they're going to go Stranger Things style, where every episode was an hour and a half to 2 hours long.
Basically a movie.
It was awesome. Yeah. For 8 episodes straight.
Not that I'm a huge fan of Stranger Things. But...
Dumb.
Moving past that,
love that show.
I completely agree with you in the sense that the series have gotten so short and so thin on actual plot that it's been excruciating. All of these series, it's just been bugging me so bad.
Oh, man. Well, what was the show that you watched recently that you were a fan
Mandalorian. I just can't get that out of my head. Such disappointment.
Everyone was disappointed with the most recent season.
Anyway, that's going to be a whole episode. We talk about that. I'm very, very sad.
But yeah, I thought that was massive.
Yep.
Oh, and catch this little tidbit he threw at the end. Tress would make a pretty good animated feature, though, don't you think?
I probably would agree.
What in the world? I mean, like, yes, okay, yeah, I believe you, Sanderson, but you're not saying that for nothing. He is definitely talking about trying to make that.
He's putting the feelers out there. You know, he's trying to see what the audience would think. What people.
I think he's doing more than feelers. I think he's teasing us and saying that he is working on like getting something done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because there have been a lot of fans who have begged for at least an animated series of one of Sanderson's books or whatever, I think you do well.
Okay.
But he's always shied away, and I completely agree with him for this reason, is that he shies away because he wants to release a movie that will grow his audience. And he feels like animation would more just target the audience that was already there, which he says it would be great because he loves us fans and everything. He'll have to go there if he wants to, like if he has to someday. But, I mean, you've got to grow the audience and have it live action, and so more people can see it on the big screen and Netflixes and such like that. But
yeah.
I don't know. Less people are into animation than they are into like the live action stuff. Like
that's true, and a lot of animated movies are going live action these days, so I can understand the trend. I think that I could get behind it. I think it could.
You think that you would want to do an animation first?
I think it'd be interesting to not first, but I think it'd be interesting to sprinkle that in. Like some series could do an animation,
that's
some
why
series could do live action.
This Tress thing is a good way to kind of satiate that for people.
Yeah, because it's a single standalone novel. It's not like they're going to be doing an entire series of this, but it's like, you know, you could throw some animation in there. Just try out different mediums. He wrote like a graphic novel that I probably won't read. But it's like, hey, he's trying new things.
Oh, you got to read it, though. It's like White Sand, it's White Sand. It's amazing. But he's making it a novel now, so we'll see.
I'm waiting for the prose version. Okay, but one of the things that I think has been interesting, especially that he announced in his announcement video, which was pretty recent, like a couple of weeks ago, he talked about the release of the leather-bound collection, and the second one is Words of Radiance.
Oh, man.
How do you feel about the release? Like, they're doing whole backer kit runs for these leather-bound. So, like, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool item to have on a shelf. Does it need to be like a whole backer kit thing? Can he just run a regular pre-order? I mean, it's a cool product. I just think he's overblowing it. We wrote whole novels on like a backer kit style, Kickstarter thing. Like just a leather-bound book just feels so...
Well, he's done this in the past with his other leather-bound books.
Yeah.
And so first, the Way of Kings also started with doing Kickstarter and getting a Kickstarter going to fund it and everything. Yeah. I think the big reason why he goes that direction is because a lot of book publishing companies want to do their own thing in a way that's very controlled. Yeah. And he likes to throw in extras. He likes to throw in pins for everyone, and he likes to throw in bookmarks, and he likes to make things extra special. And so that's why he's like, I think that's the reason why they go that direction. As we go farther into the everything, I don't know if you quite need that anymore. You could go, but honestly, I don't really care. It's gonna be the same price anyways. I think it's just a way of him doing it. Like
the price is, it's not even the price that I have a problem with. The thing that I really have an issue with is the fact that they're limited runs, right?
Oh well, I mean,
so you get the leather-bound of Words of Radiance, but you already missed the leather-bound for book 1. So like now you just have leather-bound for book 2. Let's say you missed this one. Now you're like, why would I get the 3 if I don't have 1 and 2 and I have no way of getting them?
Yeah.
It's like alienating every single time. You got to like get a smaller subset of your audience who's ever going to buy this because They want to have the whole set. Is it just me that wants the whole set or nothing?
But it just makes the books more valuable, you know?
But they're not for resale. Like, you don't collect them for resale, right? Maybe some people are collecting them in glass cases somewhere. But
even if it's not for resale, it's kind of cool to just have your own.
But it's cool to have the whole set.
This is why I'm kind
of...
You already
missed out on number one.
Put it this way. I am really happy that he's not making the secret project books in those special covers for every single person who comes by and wants to buy those special covers.
That's true.
Because it just makes them feel unique.
You had to get the premium package.
Yeah, I was part of something that was there, and I could see it. I can see more of an argument for the Way of Kings and Stormlight Archive as a whole for not like having that whole leather-bound thing sold to the individuals through Kickstarters, but I don't know.
I'm hoping at some point he releases them as like a box set of leather-bound.
You think you'd do a box set of leather-bound?
Maybe a very limited run, but just the fact that it would like be complete. I feel like I'm not going to buy the second one because I don't have the first one.
You can still buy the first one, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so.
I looked at least a few months ago. You could.
Okay, I'll take a look then because that really is a limiting factor for me. So
I know
we did quite a digress on the leather-bound.
But here's the thing though: would you be willing to spend $200 on a book?
No.
So you wouldn't even want it in the first place?
Well, it really depends. It really depends.
That was a quick no. By the way.
$200 is a heck of a lot of money for a book.
Yeah.
It's a great book, but $200?
I know. I wish it was signed. If it was signed.
Okay, yeah. And it doesn't cost him anything to sign it. I mean, a little bit of his time.
He does sign on most of these books. I don't know if all of the Kickstarter ones are
$200?
Anyway. At least the first one was. I'm super interested in getting
industry.
It, but,
I need to get into
creating an author.
Just publishing. $200? My goodness.
Yeah. Well, it's a fancy book.
If it works for him, he can roll with it. It's cool. I think it's cool that he goes through all of his ideas in this.
Well, the other thing I want to say on this Kickstarter stuff, I do like that he does Kickstarters every year. Yeah. I am a little bit bummed that he's like, the same thing is saying like, okay, I'm going to do a leather bound for Kickstarter. I'm like, do something like fun and like different. Like do the Kickstarters for someone else. That's where I'm with you. But for me, what I'm looking forward to most, and I'm so bummed it's not going to be this year, I want to see the children's story book of all of Hoyd's stories from all of the different Stormlight books.
That would be so cool.
Yes. I want to see Wonder Sail. I want to see The Dog and the Dragon.
The story collection.
All of these in a wonderful picture book that I can read to my kids.
That would be so much fun.
I am so excited for that to come out.
Has he said that he's going to come out with that?
He's talked about it. He's like, yeah, like we're thinking about doing this. And he's talked
like
to Isaac Stewart about it.
Full page pictures on stuff?
Yeah. Like children's books. And he said, it's like, we'll probably do that in a Kickstarter in the future at some point. I hope that future is, since it doesn't seem like it's going to be this year, has to be next year.
I hope so.
I will be the first person on that Kickstarter.
We'll let him know. We'll put that down as a question for our interview with him eventually.
It's on my list.
Yeah, we'll make sure we ask him.
Very excited about it.
That'll be good. Well, I think one thing that I want to just wrap up with is just the fact that he talks through so much stuff here, and he does this every year, and he's like, this is the next 7 years of my life. These are all my ideas. These are all my initiatives. This is how we're growing the team. And all of it comes down to like, he just loves to tell stories. I want to read his like last sentence where he says, I've always had big dreams and big ambitions. However, it's important to me that you know that, well, I'm still me. And if that makes sense, hopefully, I still spend most of my time writing the books themselves despite all of this because that's the part I love the most. He spends most of his time writing the books. He lets other people handle the operations, logistics, dragon steel, all that stuff. And he gets to just focus on writing great stories. And he doesn't get distracted by the enterprise of everything. And I think a lot of authors have, where they're like, okay, when would be the right time to release this book? How do I lock in a contract for 12 books so that I can write for the next 25 years and just write slow and make things work and maybe turn it into a movie that everyone else has control over? He doesn't do any of that. He's just focused on how can I write the stories and build the company that I need to. And it's massive now. Dragonsteel is only going to get bigger. If you saw the announcement video, they're building a whole campus.
Crazy.
It's going to be absolutely insane. We'll podcast from there for sure. But awesome. It's just something
while they're building it, we'll be on the construction site.
In the hard hats and everything. No, it'll be fantastic, and I'm just excited to see where it goes.
Well, that's the things I love most about Sanderson. You can tell he just loves what he does.
Yep.
And people who love what they do amazing work.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite things that he's talked about is he'll talk with other authors about like writing and everything, and you can tell that he's just different even from other authors.
Yeah, he even mentions that.
Obsessed with like
I'm not normal.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not normal. He's like, I'm obsessed with writing. Like the biggest example are the secret projects, right?
Yeah.
He he felt burnt out from the world and everything. So what does he do? He writes more. He does more of his job. Who does that when they're burnt out?
He loves it.
He loves it, dude. And that is why he will.
And they're so good, the secret projects. Like,
yes.
He just like whipped out some fantastic books.
Just for fun. And that is why he will go down as one of the greatest authors of all time.
He's definitely on that track to legendary status.
It is amazing.
I love to see it.
I know.
I love that it's happening contemporary to us. That's the best part.
Also, the other reason why I always think, like, somebody keep that man alive because he can finish all of his work. I will be devastated if someone else has to finish his work. It's not going to be the same.
Devastating.
And he's not going to finish until he's like 70 something.
What?
Like late 70s for all of his work.
What is this based off of?
Oh, I went through his schedule. Like he has like a list of all the books he still needs to write, and he wrote it out. He's like, yeah, I'd be done in my late 70s by the time this is all said and done.
But then again, like if we're living healthy, doing what we need to do, no reason you can't at least write. Maybe it'll be a little slower, but we'd be in our 60s. Just like
goodness,
just chilling, reading the books, man. Podcasting.
We're not just 10 years younger than him.
We'll be podcasting in AR.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, seriously.
All this stuff.
No, man. So somebody, we just need to put together a fund or something to have like the perfect like trainer that is just perfect for him to keep him alive no matter what.
Yeah.
Like,
Sanderson's workout plan dropping late 2028.
Workout plan. A bus is coming in the sidewalks. That guy needs to jump in and push him out of the way. Like,
just an absolute bridge for bodyguard.
Exactly.
That's
all
the
times.
only way.
That's what I'm talking about as a trainer.
Love it.
Protect him in all things.
That'll be fantastic. Well, it's been an exciting year. 2023 has been absolutely phenomenal. The state of Sanderson is cool. It's cool to look forward to the next 10 years of what we're going to be looking at. But so I'm just excited to just keep reading these books, keep discovering the worlds he's written, and then Dragonsteel 2024 right around the corner.
We'll be there. We're excited.
We will definitely be there.
So
we were very excited to share with you guys. So
the book Wind and Truth.
Wind and Truth coming up.
Very stoked.
But thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like. It really does help the channel itself and the algorithm and whatever YouTube related stuff. So please do so. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and we'll see you in the next one.